Hello. So if you're like so many of us, you might have the right mindset to want to accomplish something, yet what we're often missing is the process to make the application sustainable in a way that our efforts actually pay off. So in this episode, we're going to look at what does it really take for us to be successful? Is it something innate, or is there a process that we really need to pay attention to? So Ivan, tell us a bit more about this.
Elena, the brain is super simple. In fact, it's mainly driven by two emotions. In fact, it is fear and pleasure. We have to play and control these two chemical reactions that are happening inside of our brain to make it easier for the brain to accept change. Change is very difficult, and that we see it in a day-to-day basis. I want to drive you through the process itself. The example that I want to use is, what if I want to change my career coming, let's say, from finance, and I want to move to marketing? So, in fact, the process starts by setting ourselves into a goal. So, the step one is going to be to clarify this aspiration or to clarify this goal that we want to achieve, which is, in our case, moving to something that we want to do, moving to marketing, from finance to marketing. The second step that is very important is to clarify or to explore what type of behavior or actions we can do in order to achieve there. So if I want to move to marketing and I'm currently in finance, for instance, I may consider to do marketing masters, going to university again. This is one thing. The second thing, it could be something like I want to talk with people who are in marketing to understand the jargon. I want to understand what it is all about. The third thing might be I want to start reading more about marketing so that I can close a little bit my gaps. Now we have three options of actions that I can start doing it. Now the third step is super important, and it is about matching the specific actions with what we can really do, what is feasible. For instance, I may consider out of the three actions that I have selected that the action of doing an MBA is not something matching with my current status. I don't have the time to do an MBA. Maybe I don't have the money to pay for the MBA. So I need to match it and say, can I really do it? So I remove the MBA part. So I have two options right now, which is start talking with people who are in marketing to understand a little bit better, or devoting some time to learn something during the day, to learn about marketing. The fourth step is to divide it, Elena, and to make it super tiny, so tiny that is feasible to do it within 2 minutes per day, something that where we don't have this friction of, it is too difficult, too much effort, too much money that I have to devote. So we need to take the action or behavior that we wanted, like the one, for instance, if we take the example of reading a little bit more about marketing, and say, how do I make it a tiny behavior? A tiny behavior would be, I can start reading during 2 minutes every single day about marketing. I can block my time. It looks a little bit less difficult to be done. If we decide to do this behavior, it's not going to be easy. So that's why we have the step 5, which is we need like a prompt, that trigger that will remind us to do this action. So examples of prompts or triggers would be about the time on the day where we are doing a recurrent action. Like, for instance, every morning when I wake up, the first thing that I do is go and make my cup of coffee. So what if I linked with this existing habit my reading new behavior that I want to develop? What if my tiny behavior becomes every time that I'm finishing or drinking my coffee, I will devote 2 minutes, simple 2 minutes every day to read a specific subject about marketing. Well, you will tell me, Elena, it's a little bit ridiculous to start with 2 minutes. But this is how we start to create compound behaviors that become consistently repetitive in our brain and become more acceptable. The next step, and this is also super important, because in our brain, we need to have moments of rewards, moments where we generate chemicals of pleasure. We need to be capable of celebrating this success, to be able to find something like a small trick that we always do, like, hey, I did it. every time that we succeed to accomplish this behavior, every time that you do it, in fact, your brain is producing the right chemicals that will reward your brain and will sustain later on the new behavior that you want to create. It looks simple, it is applicable, and the crazy thing, Elena, and we have seen it in our practice, it works with our current base of customers. Every time that we move out from the big scope that seems so difficult, moving from finance to marketing, and we put it into a small piece of action, and we help the brain to move it forward, to be sustainable, to reward ourselves. It is happening. What do you think, Elena?
Absolutely. So what it sounds like is that it's not, there's no this big magical thing that we need to do to achieve whatever we've set to ourselves. That it's more about just making a process brain friendly for our brains to make it sustainable, because we know as well that motivation alone doesn't work. So how do you actually, stay on that motivation path? And this is, you do it in a way that you break it down into small, tiny habits. And so there's no magic wand, but if there was one, it would be tiny habits for sure.
Absolutely. The amount of research that nowadays, and we see even millions of people converting to this methodology of designing how, using how the brain works in order to design new behaviors. It is amazing. And the research in neuroscience has progressed so much to make it tangible, like for people like us, to make it easy in order to achieve our goals. So take away, if you want to achieve success on your goal, it is not about you, it is your brain that is refraining you. Start creating a bulletproof process that will make that you will depend less on your motivation and more on the design behavior that you have made it easier to implement. Great, no?
Yes. Until next time.
Thank you, Elena. See you next time. Bye.